Let's talk about Lumizard. Lumizard is a dragon breeding and role-playing browser-based game that is currently on Kickstarter. It has about 13 days left to go in its campaign as of recording, and it has reached 9% of its goal. I want to talk a little bit about this project, so I just want to give a little bit of a lay of the landscape of this game, of the developers, and my thoughts and reactions. This is a sponsored video. The Lumizard team sponsored me doing this showcase. However, they did not have any sway over the creative content of this video, any of my messaging, any of that. My most top-level takeaways about this project have to do with the developer and then the nature of the game. So first of all, the developer, whose name is Dana is maybe the Americanized pronunciation, but Dana, as she introduced herself in one of the videos,
Hi, I'm Dana,
is from Germany and developed a game called Morning Dust Ranch, which is a horse breeding simulator game. And Dana first developed this game in 2011,
which we started in 2011. I am the creator and developer of the game.
And then in 2022 did a Kickstarter launch. And now you're saying, Julie, this video is about Lumizard, a dragon game, not a horse game. Why are you bringing it up? Because Dana launched that game. That game seems to be quite successful and is now venturing to launch Lumizard. That's my first takeaway, because one of the things that always comes up when we talk about Kickstarters of new games is how do we judge the viability of a project? And for me, the fact that the lead developer has launched a similar game that they have been committed to for over a decade is a really encouraging sign that they know what they're getting into, that they know how much money they need to put into it, and they can kind of expect some of the challenges that they're going to encounter. There's more knowledge to go from to anticipate potential roadblocks. That is my most initial reaction to this project. I set up an account just to make sure that it wasn't just a landing page and that there really was a website. And yeah, so this is my horse. We've been over this. I'm not a big horse person. But yeah, this is an absolutely real website that has real buttons. It has a tutorial. Real effort went into creating this, and it's functional. It looks like an exciting game. I've also seen some YouTube videos of people playing this game, so it's real. They know what they're doing. As somebody who's never launched a game before, I'm always like, what are you doing? And now I want to address perhaps the dragon in the room, of which many of you are probably thinking, like, how can we be so many minutes into the video and not yet address this thing? So when we watch the Lumizard video, Lumizard seems to be quite reminiscent of another browser-based virtual dragon game, of which I'm a huge fan, called Flight Rising. So Flight Rising, for those of you who are not initiated, is a dragon breeding, battling, crafting, role-playing game. Lumizard does address similarities to other games in their FAQ. So let's go ahead and give that a read. This selection is from the Lumizard Tumblr, and it's in their FAQ that I believe is entitled FAQ Part 2 Game Questions. The phrasing is the gameplay similar to game XYZ? The response is, the gameplay of Lumizard is not directly comparable to any specific game, as it is an original creation with a unique blend of elements. While you might identify certain similarities with other games, this is mainly because Lumizard shares common game characteristics such as breeding, exploration, battles, and customization. Like many games, Lumizard draws inspiration from various sources, including Pokemon for its battle mechanics, Ark for elements like boss encounters and crafting, and Lioden for the concept of alpha dragons. However, we integrate these influences in our own distinctive way to create a unique gaming experience. So what do I make of this FAQ response? I really appreciated them addressing it as directly as they could without naming the competitor, because I think that if you are browsing Kickstarter and you come across this, or if you're on the community online of browser-based virtual pet games that includes Flight Rising, this is going to be your immediate question, is like, how is this different from Flight Rising? And I think that the way that this was answered was pretty clever, in the sense that it harkens to Pokemon, which Neopets does, right? We could clearly see those influences on Flight Rising. It makes sense with how much it's in the cultural zeitgeist and how much of our generation, my generation, takes to gaming, that they would mention Pokemon. That just makes sense, right? I also thought it was smart that they called out Lioden, mostly because there's a huge difference in the gameplay style of Flight Rising and Lioden, and by directly referencing Lioden, it engages the Lioden audience, because there are components of Lioden that are diametrically opposed to Flight Rising. So I think by calling that out, it's really useful for people who understand the way that those games are different. And now, using this FAQ, we're going to talk a little bit about how it's more similar to Lioden and then it is similar to Flight Rising. Another really key component is the use of rollovers and lifespan. So Lumizard will employ lifespans for their dragons, which means there is a finite life, and a core component of that is the employment of a rollover. On Flight Rising, there is a rollover. It's mostly to measure like breeding cooldowns and to reset core features of the site. But on something like Lioden, a rollover, it advances the age in a finite lifespan of your creatures. So Lumizard will use a rollover. One nice thing about the rollover is that it is account specific. So if you don't log in, nothing moves forward. On a game like Flight Rising, if you don't log in, the whole world continues. The rollover happens whether or not you trigger it. Meanwhile, on Lumizard, the rollover is triggered by the user. To me, these are some pretty notable gameplay mechanics that set it apart from Flight Rising. That being said, when we look at the video, which we'll dive into in depth in a minute here, we see a lot of things that are pretty similar. We see similar elements and we see similar components. And a lot of that we can take back to the fact that there is only so much you can do when you are approaching the concept of designing dragons and an environment for those dragons to live in. I don't expect somebody to completely reinvent the wheel when they come up with a game about dragons. It just doesn't make sense. You expect to see some level of similarity between projects. It's really going to be the execution, the engagement design, the art that is going to be different, not so much the basic concepts. Because guys, like, we expect them to have eggs, right? We expect them to be able to breed. We expect them to have colors on a color map. These things don't change. And it's unfair to judge a latecomer by the fact that they're not reinventing the wheel. And that's kind of my rant there on comparing two games in the same category with the same subject, but completely different design ethos and different teams. Okay, enough. Let's have something to react to. Let's watch the video.
Hello, we're Dana.
All right, so we've got the two project leaders.
Dragon browser game.
Currently in development. I'm the game designer and programmer, having developed and maintained the horse browser game Morning Dust Ranch for over a decade. I'm already experienced with making games.
I'm the artist behind Lumizard. I'm responsible for creating the dragons, the backgrounds, the items, and all the art you can encounter in our Lumizard world. Lumizard is an immersive dragon browser game that revolves around exploration, battles, breeding, and customization. In Lumizard, you take the roles of two alpha dragons and face the challenge of surviving in a magical world of Lumizard. Your journey involves hunting for food, battling enemies to gain experience and strength, taking on NPC dragons to expand your territory, and grow your dragon tribe through breeding.
In Lumizard, each dragon breed belongs to an element. Your choice of alpha dragon.
I mean, there's only so many elements you could choose from, right? I know, it's just, so the first time I saw this, I was like, but I mean, any browser-based pet game you play, so many of them use the same concept here. And I don't want it to make it seem like I'm going out of my way to defend this game, just because they asked me to make a video. It's just that, like, Flight Rising didn't invent this, Lorewolf didn't invent this. This is just fantasy. This is how fantasy works, right? You've only have so many natural elements to choose from.
The Rock Rain, an Earth Dragon, and the Storm Drifter, a Wind Raptor. Up to 3 more dragon breeds can be unlocked with our stretch goals, making a Poison, an Ice, and a Lightning Dragon available from the start.
Each of the elements has its unique color scheme. Fire dragons are red, water dragons are blue. You get it. If our stretch goal of crossbreeding is reached, you could even breed for blue fire dragons. From here on out, the possibilities are endless. With over 400 color options to choose from and exciting plans for special colors and markings, you'll have countless opportunities to make your dragon
so
stand out.
it looks like markings are on the map, and we have a couple of different ones previewed here.
Enabling you to create entirely unique looks for your dragons.
As you embark on your Lumizard adventure, you'll stumble upon crafting ingredients during your explorations. These materials can be used to craft an array of useful items, powerful potions, and exquisite decorations. Additionally, you have the option to trade with other dragon tribes, fostering a sense of community within the Lumizard universe.
They've got dragon capitalism.
So why Kickstarter? The game is already
Thank God.
80% coded, but to prepare for a successful launch, we need to address a few critical aspects. Firstly, we require the services of a specialist lawyer to ensure all legal aspects are prepared for launch.
Secondly, our game is heavily reliant on art, and to expedite the development process, we aim to bring on board another artist. Lastly, we have our eyes set on securing a robust server infrastructure that can handle a substantial number of players at the same time, ensuring a smooth and enjoyable gaming experience for everyone online.
So the fact that they're going to bring on more artists really is indicative to me that they know what they're doing, just because it's such a common pitfall to only have like one celebrity artist or just one point of truth for artists. And the fact that they're budgeting bringing on more artists shows that they understand what they're up against here, because the nature of this game is that it's going to be very art heavy.
Experience for everyone online.
Explore with us the mysterious world of Lumizard and discover the secrets of this bioluminescent world.
Thank you for considering supporting our Kickstarter campaign.
So just a quick summary of what's going on here. The Kickstarter is open until November 26th, 2023. There are a variety of reward levels that users can choose to back this at. However, if you do not have the means to back this project, this will be open for the general public eventually. If you do back at the 30 euro tier, which is about 33 United States dollars, that does give you advanced access to the game. I believe it's just an early access. The page is really good to read. It has a lot of information as well as illustrations of different breeds. So go ahead and check that out if you're curious. I am hopeful about this project. Would I have made this video if they didn't reach out? Probably not, just because I'm not really browsing Kickstarter the way that I used to. I think that it's good to have competition in this scheme. I think it's good for the overall community of browser-based games for there to be more competition. I think it's really interesting that somebody with such extensive equine knowledge is now branching over to dragons, and I think it is very interesting to take on this space. I'm curious to see how this goes. I will be watching the rest of this Kickstarter anxiously, and I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say about this project. All right, let me know in the comments what you think, how you think the approach differs from other games in this space, what you would like to see, and I'll be watching and responding. All right, thanks guys. Bye.